Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. One of the things that makes this channel different than all the other YouTube channels is I stay in my lane and I invite other experts to come in and talk about topics that are important, but I have no experience and no skill in. And one of those is estates. So what do? We have an estate attorney, Rylas Dana, on the show every week to talk about important topics. So let's welcome Rylas to the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
We got a real-time example to talk about. We have an artist, a musician that was frankly big for me in junior high of all things, right? Middle school, whatever you want to call it. I remember going to one of my first dances, dancing to his music. This artist, of course, is Prince. Purple Rain. If you are too young to know who Prince is, go Google or look on YouTube for Purple Rain. He was a very, I don't know. He's one of the first musicians that I actually could recognize his music. I'm like, that's Prince. And he passed away 6 years ago. Can you believe that?
Yeah. So one of my memories of Prince, I guess also in junior high or elementary, but he was the artist formerly known as Prince during that time.
Remember? Yeah. Yeah.
Which, to a young kid who later became a lawyer, I was like, wait, that's kind of cool. Like, yeah. Wait, so he changed his name to get out of a contract. Like, yeah, is what I figured out then. I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool, or that's something.
Yeah, because he didn't actually own the name or the rights to Prince, right? I guess that was the thing, the battle he had way back when.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess that's relevant now to his estate. So you sent me that article, and I quickly skimmed it.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do for folks, because again, you talk about estates and LLCs and entities and all of this, and we're a real estate channel and people are building assets and we talk about getting a will and all of this stuff set up. But a lot of people don't listen. A lot of people have great intentions and then it doesn't happen. And Prince is one of those people. I'm sure he had every intention of doing it, but always thought he had time. And 6 years ago, he passed. He did not have a will. So his estate has been tied up for the last 6 years between the IRS, his heirs, and I'm guessing some bankers, which is not helping anybody except the lawyers, as near as I can tell.
Yeah. So as you're talking, I'm remembering also what else I know about Prince. I remember he was big on owning his music.
So yeah, his library is supposedly, yeah.
So, but even to the point, I think there's been interviews with other artists. I'm thinking Pink is maybe one of them. Mm-hmm. Who was saying that young in her career, I think she wanted to collab with Prince, and he was like, only if we own it. Like, right. we're not doing it for a record company, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's probably part of the challenge. So since he owned his artwork, mm-hmm. that's very tough to value.
Yeah, his I think they would call it in the music industry his catalog.
Yeah, so you hear some other artists selling their catalog. There was a big one recently. I don't remember who.
Well, I think Bruce Springsteen did it. I think there's been several to sell, and I think one sold for like $500 million or some big number.
Yeah, I think Bruce Springsteen was the latest that you probably talked about on your channel. Mm-hmm. But that's probably for some estate planning purposes.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
If you sell your catalog, then you're identifying a value of it. And then one thing we'll talk about with Prince, it looks like he got hit with taxes at Minnesota as well as the federal level. Mm-hmm. So yeah. if he was doing some planning, he could have moved his catalog out of Minnesota mm-hmm. to a jurisdiction where they do not have a state death tax or a state tax. It's kind of confusing. Mm-hmm. So, but
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say that's one is kind of obvious planning opportunity, but he probably just wasn't thinking about it. He was pretty young, wasn't he, when he passed?
Yeah, I mean, he certainly was. I mean, he died of a drug overdose or fentanyl, or I think it was. But yeah, it's again, I see so many people in the real estate game that their plan, their vision, legacy wealth, freedom, all of these things, and I don't know what the numbers are. It might be half or 40% of the people I talk to about having a will or a trust are like, not yet. I'm like, what are you doing? You just spent an hour pontificating about how you're going to have legacy wealth and take care of your kids. And if you don't, this could happen, right? You could spend decades building this thing that is legacy wealth, not be prepared for what we know is coming to all of us. Death is undefeated. And it could be all I mean, I guess two things about the article annoyed me. One is it took 6 years, right? And as I understand it, you could tell me I'm wrong. There are heirs, as you see in the article. His heirs are actually older than him. And two of them have died during this battle or fight or issue, whatever you want to call it. That's terrible. They probably could have used the money before they passed. And then second, it looks like the lawyers and I don't know, managers made 10 million bucks fighting this out. How is that okay, people?
Yeah, so let's I'll address both of those. So one, the time, yeah, that is a long time. Unfortunately, that's kind of the way it goes, especially when a lot of money is involved. There's going to be a lawsuit,
right?
And in this situation, we're talking about estate tax return.
Yep.
So the estate tax return on estates that big, they are going to get audited, especially when there's something so hard to value, like his music library. So it's understandable that it takes time. Yeah, it's frustrating, and I didn't really follow that case that closely. But yeah, the lawsuit's understandable. Here's what I'll say about the attorneys, though. So yeah, they charged 10 million bucks. But in that article, I read that there was tax penalties. They were able to get suspended, right? Well, I think there was an extra. I think there was a federal level and a state level penalty that they levied. I don't remember the exact reason they said, because it was, I guess, because their first value was off.
That's what I read. Yeah, basically somebody came out and said it was worth 80 million. They thought it was worth 160. The tax penalty came in for whatever. But yeah, that's what I read too.
Yeah, so I think the lawyers were able to sell it for less a lot of those penalties.
Well, they got them waived. Yeah, again reading the article, right? The IRS said 160. Commercial Bank, which I think was the appointed trustee or whatever they call it.
Yeah, Comerica Bank.
Yeah, said 90. So 160, 90. And I think it was settled for like 156. So it only came down a little bit from what the IRS said. But basically, it sounded like at the bottom of the article that the remaining heirs who are in their 80s said, we don't want to fight anymore, because the attorneys at the bottom of the article said, hey, if you guys want to fight this more, we've got to go to court. And they're like, we're done. Give us our money. We're going to, basically two of their siblings passed already. So they're like, give us the little, the whatever's left. So that's what I think happened.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's how litigation usually goes. It's whoever is willing to drag it out the longest. And that's what bothers me sometimes, because it's like, you want to like stand up for the little guy, but it's just, they'll drag you through years and years oftentimes in order to try to prove your point. Yeah. And then what if you really won at that point, right? You're talking years of your life.
Yeah.
In this in litigation. Yeah. So
yeah, that's unfortunate. But again, this is all going back to the reason why I wanted to talk about you is how does this play out? Let's just assume he had a will. How long does it take? Because it took 6 years. So it sounds like the heirs will be paid out, because it just got settled today or last week. They'll be paid out relatively soon. So probably this year. So that's year 7. How soon would they have seen the money, assuming he had a will and everything was buttoned up and all that stuff? How fast could it have been done?
Maybe half the time.
Oh, still years. Okay.
Unfortunately, yeah, because like I said, when you're talking that much, estates that large, kind of the game that's played at that level, the lawyer's going to say, all right, let's value it, wherever here. We know the IRS is going to come back here.
Okay.
And we'll see where we can get in there.
Okay.
So with the states that large, you're gonna have that, unfortunately.
Really? Oh man, I'm glad I asked, because I would have thought it would have been less.
Here's what I'll say though. I think with some planning, millions and millions could have stayed with the family.
Extra.
Right. Extra. So in addition to the time saving, where they could have saved a lot of money by just avoiding that Minnesota state level.
Sure. Oh yeah.
By moving his catalog, somewhere else, just to another state. And then with an estate that large, we're talking 150 million, or at least it was, 80 million.
Yeah.
He could have benefited from some higher level estate planning with some offshore trusts.
Okay.
Again, moving assets and getting things, out of his name
Mhm.
strategically.
So let's talk about our smaller folks. Very few of us are going to build our estates worth 150 million. Let's assume it's $10 million. How fast are, again, right? You're going to have, if you don't have a will, it takes years, or at least it seems like. But if you do have a will, does any of this get faster, or at what level does it get faster?
With a trust, a will doesn't really speed things up.
Okay.
A will is a ticket into probate court. A
Right.
will says where things go,
Mhm.
who your estate goes to, but
Mhm.
you have to go through probate court to activate it.
Okay. All right.
So a big time saver is creating a trust
Mhm.
and having your assets owned by a trust.
Got it.
So then
Okay.
when you pass away, it's clear who can step in and manage the trust
Okay.
and who the beneficiaries are.
So somebody has a will and a trust. I want people to understand like how fast money is dispersed to the people that they built it for, right? The legacy wealth person versus if you don't do anything. I want to paint a vision of a rough time gap because it's not only the money's, it's faster, right? They get the money faster.
Right. So in probate in Arizona, I'm telling people about 9 to 12 months
Okay.
on kind of a basic probate, what I would call basic, meaning where there's not, we're not going to have to wait to sell an asset.
Okay.
There's not any other obstacles that are going to take extra time. In California, I don't do a lot of California probates just because they're a lot more of a pain over there. But I'm thinking at least 18 months right now, because in California, to do a probate, you have to have hearings to open the probate and also to close the probate. And it's taken a few months to get those hearings.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And again, if they don't have a will and trust, again, so in California, it's 18 months. Arizona, let's say 9. If they don't do any of that, what are we talking?
So if they have a trust, we can get that successor trustee appointed right away.
Okay.
A lot of times financial institutions are going to want to see a death certificate.
Fair enough. That's reasonable.
So really, as soon as there's a death certificate, then we can show that transfer of authority and start allocating assets according to the trust.
Okay. So if we have the trust and the will all set up, it could be, let's call it
weeks.
Okay. And then if you don't, it's 18 months in California.
Months, definitely months.
All right. That's a reason to do it. Any other thoughts on that article and advice we have for folks? So again, in real estate, people talk all the time on building legacy wealth. Folks, you've got to, this is something I have bad news for you. You're going to die.
Yeah. So some of my thoughts are with art, like in music, that would have been easier to move out of Minnesota to another place.
Right.
Where there's a company in another state, another place, just a reason to move it out. With real estate, the challenge is when it's physically sitting in Minnesota, Minnesota's going to have their hand out saying, we want
our piece,
taxes on that. So I guess just last thoughts is you want to have a trust. It makes sense in most states, and it makes sense a lot faster than you think. We're talking 100,000 of equity in Arizona and 150 in California is what it takes to trigger probate.
Okay.
So you want to hold assets in a trust. And within that trust, if you're in business and other things, you'll probably have other LLCs and other business entities, but you want all of that under the umbrella of your trust as a way to transfer that to the next generation.
Right. Very cool. And if somebody wants to do that in California or Arizona, how do you want them to reach out?
Yeah, so you can reach out, rylasdana.com. You can find links to my law firm where I practice in Arizona and California, as well as my social media and the link to this playlist.
Yeah, link to the playlist below. Show notes has his email and all of that. So Riley, thank you very much for doing this. This is just another reminder that people need to take action. Lots of folks watching this that said, I should, I will. No, call them, get it done. Don't let what happened to Prince and his heirs. It just hurt my feelings, right? It's 2 of his heirs passed in the last 6 years. And it's like, God, they could have used some of that to maybe enjoy a few things at the end there. So Riley, thanks for all you do.
All right, thank you.